Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Performance E streaming for the ANZCAR Cup. We are here for Daytona Speed Week, and joining me up here in the booth tonight, I have Matt Hunter on the cameras and Mark Johansson joining me here for the broadcast itself and talking away. Welcome to the booth, Mark.
Thanks for having me, Carl. It's great to be here. Looking forward to part two of a three-part session that started the other night, and it's going to be great, I'd say.
Well, that's it. It started all on Friday night. Friday night we had practice on Thursday. It's been a long, long week. The speed week goes on and on and on. It's a never-ending situation. We did, of course, have our pole sitters and outside row pole sitter set for the race, though, Mark.
Yeah, definitely. And what a big surprise in some sense that front row lockout. Um, I won't say much because one of them's my teammate in with me in my league. So I'll be a little bit biased here. I'd say if I said too much. So I'll leave that to you, Carl.
Yeah, Brad Allison taking pole position for the 500 with Ruben Phelps. Really good job from both of them setting up that car perfectly. And one of the things that's different, of course, for Daytona and the 500 is the fact we are running open setups. Usually we run a fixed setups all year round, but for the 500 it is open. So they got their qualifying setup absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Sometimes, though, that means it's not going to be quite as good for the race.
I can tell you, and they have been working on a, a qualifying times, which they've done, and they are actually working on a race trim car. And I think they've got it nailed pretty much from what the comments I've had in my little ear over the last couple of days.
Always good getting some inside information. It makes our lives a lot easier. But yeah, that's absolutely it. It is an important thing to get that car right for the race as well as for qualifying. So we've got the duels here tonight, two concurrent races running at the same time. We are watching the race for the outside row, I believe. Which is going to be setting their positions for the race and also setting them into the race itself. Of course, we have 20 drivers that are, 22 drivers that are locked in, of course. The pole position and outside row starter, second place man, they are locked in for the race and they don't have to take part in the duel itself. But the drivers that are locked in for the race, of course, Foster, last season's championship, Hamish Gallagher, Josh Micklemore, Jason Martin, Andrew Dyson, Danny G, Michael Skurlock, JCW, Joshua Carroll, Maddie Raymond, Luke Traher, Neil Pearson, Stevie Dubb, Steve Williams, Philip Worley, Barry Neal, Riley Curtis, Ruben Phelps, we say he's locked in second place. Lachlan Urquio, Paul Jackson, Scotty Griffiths, and Raymond Yeager, the final in that 20. Everybody else has to fight for those final 20 odd spots to get into the race.
Yeah, that's going to be the challenging thing here tonight. With some of these top guys like JCW, Ed, um, and even Raymond, they're going to be using tonight as racing for the position to start, but also as a test run for tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, that's it. There are people that are already locked in. Of course, you're going to be racing for your starting grid position as well in the duel. This is a qualifying position race, so you're sort of racing to find out where you're going to start. So obviously, some of the drivers that are already locked in might just sit towards the back, not wanting to start too high up the field. Whereas those guys that aren't locked in, they're going to want to try and get themselves in a decent position. And at the moment, leading practice, we have the locked-on car of Peter Wilkinson making his debut in the Cup season with Tim Corn this year. They got two cars in this race as well, which is a useful thing. If you can get your teammates in, that's very helpful. Same with Natari. They've got Foster, Heddership, and JCW with them in this race. That could be a real boon for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. I was just going to say to you, Carl. I mean, it's like you look at the qualifying times, and you look at where JCW and Ed qualified, and then you come across here to tonight, and JCW is third quickest so far with a 46.4. So I don't know. Was he a little sandbagging the other night, or was he really having a go, and just seeing what the car will do for the longer race.
Like, I think everyone wants to try and start on pole position because it's a nice guaranteed spot. But as you say, there is that little bit of sort of just not quite going fully for it, and we have seen that in the past. People not quite going to the absolute limits because this is a really good idea of how your car's going to perform in the 500 itself. The Duel is a nice little. It's a nice little prelude if you're locked in already because you don't really get that much drafting action uh, other than practice itself. So this gives you a little bit of experience. It gives you an idea of how that car's going to perform in the race. Of course, only half the field out there at the moment, so there will be an extra 22 cars out, 21 cars out there tomorrow. Sorry, I'm doing the maths now off the top of my head. There'll be an extra 20 odd cars out there tomorrow in the actual race, of course. But
Mm.
it does give you that little bit of practice and gives you a bit of a start to that drafting, so you can get a little bit of your eye in, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I'm just looking at here. Barry Neal's done a 46, so he's right down the back. Nigel Patton, where out of going to be out of sixth. So there's some turn ups here that we may see some very very big surprises.
That's it. Let's run through the starting grid. So front row we have Scotty Griffith and Barry Neal. Second row is Aidan Schultz, Raven Yeager. Third row, Danny G, Nigel Patton. Fourth row is Jaden Russell with Tristan Koch. Fifth row is Joe Schultz and Daniel Hedesheed. Sixth row is Stevie Dubb and Riley Curtis. Seventh row is defending champion Foster and JCW. Seventh row, eighth row, I think I'm on. Nathan Button and Christopher Finley. Ninth is Horn and Wilkinson. Then we have Gesberg and Georgeson and Morrison, Matty Ray rounding out the field there.
So the question is, do we see a big one tonight, or do we see everyone just settle in and see what the tyres are going to do and what the maximum fuel burn is, and to see how long we can get out of a tank of fuel.
Yeah, well, that's another good point. Is it does give you that little bit of knowledge for the race tomorrow as well on fuel burn and tyre life and things like that. Of course, not a huge tyre eater here at Daytona, but it is the first time for the Gen 7 car um, rounding out here in the race, of course, and it can depend a bit on your setup as well. So there are so many little variables that can come into action. Having this bit of a practice can really get you some good information.
Yeah, definitely. Matt and I were talking earlier. We reckon a stop race if it goes green.
Yeah, I think they can get to around about lap 45, 50 something on a
Yeah,
tank. So it's going to be a very short stop for fuel just to get that little splash in to get them ready to get to the end of the race. Of course, the leader of the pack will be using up more fuel as we see in pack racing. So sometimes it could be a nice idea to sit 3 or 4 cars back just to save that little bit of fuel, make it a little bit easier for the race. But then you do put yourself at risk of an accident. The pace car comes in though, and we're about to go green for the first time in 2022 for the ANZCAR Cup here for the Duel at Daytona. Scotty Griffiths gets a good start away. Barry Neal on the outside row at the moment.
everyone's staying in rows of two, and a nice clean start from everyone. Everyone seemed like they played nicely, no pushing or anything there. So now be just settle in and watch the laps tick by.
That's it, and we've seen a few times in this week at least that the bottom part of this track has been a bit treacherous. That apron has caught a few drivers out. Getting very low here can actually catch the car out a little bit, and it's spun a few people out with them sort of just being caught by surprise. So just keep an eye out for that. People running that low line. Of course, running the high line can be a bit difficult as well because you can very easily make a mistake. JCW there just slotting into that low line right away.
Yeah,
And they
Barry's been left behind. He hasn't got enough guys up there on the high line. What, there's 5 cars up there on the high line, 6, 7, and that high line probably won't come in, I reckon, about lap 30.
Yeah,
So
they need
mid race.
they need to start working together well. Unfortunately, Peter Morris has dropped off the pack, and Tristan Koch starting from pit lane. They're very much out of it at the moment, and you'll see the difference in speeds. Tristan Koch at the moment getting around about 285 kilometers per hour. Meanwhile, the cars in the draft in the pack 304, 305 kilometers per hour. There is such a huge difference between being in that pack and out of it. Getting a good run of cars, getting that bump draft working, it makes a huge difference here at Daytona.
Yeah, definitely does. And I'll just touch on what you were saying about running that low line. Turns 1 and 2, if you get down on that pole on the double yellow line, there's a little groove there, and you've only got about half a tyre width. And if you get below that groove, it's going to turn you and shoot you up track.
We saw that a couple of times this week already in the truck and the Xfinity race. So drivers just have to be a little bit careful. Of course, it is a new car as well. It is the next generation of the NASCAR, very different to what we were racing before. Of course, you've got sequential gearboxes now. You've even got a fifth gear to play with.
Yeah, don't remind me. I did an official lap race the other day, and I nearly did the whole race in fourth gear.
It's an easy thing to do. I know when I was doing a race a while back, qualified in fifth gear, and everyone was so much faster than me. It's much easier to run in fourth gear here if you're not in the pack. Fifth gear is just generally for the pack itself, and that extra gear just throws you out completely because you're not used to it. It's such a it doesn't sound like much, but it is a big difference. Of course, the rear axle's changed a lot as well. Oh, Scotty Griffith just getting a bit low there, almost had a moment very quick on the wheel there, caught the car nicely.
I'll tell you what, Barry's persistent with this high line. He's definitely trying to get it working, and Raymond Jager's up there with him. And the 90 car, I can't see who that is.
That would be Nigel Patton there.
Nigel's, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Very,
Um,
very close, and trying to get in that real good draft there.
they need to start closing up a little bit though, because they're just a little bit far away at the moment. Um, it's just not quite working for them. Matty Ray needs to really tighten it up a little bit. He's sort of just on that back edge. He's got enough gap where he can start closing in, but he's sort of blocking the locked on lads cars as well. Tim Corn and Peter Wilkinson from linking up with each other, because those two could work together quite well if they can actually get to each other. But unfortunately, they got a Matty Ray shaped object in the way. Same for Nathan Button and George Esberg as well. That two teammates are sort of separated by another car at the moment, and that can be one of the perilous things in these sorts of videos. You want to try and get with your teammates as quick as possible, but it's not always capable.
No, you're definitely not. And sometimes a teammate will see a better chance somewhere, and he not intentionally drop down into the bottom line or pull up into the high line, and you get caught out, and that's game over until you can get back together.
Now we're starting to see those cars move around a lot more. These cars, you do move around a bit in the draft, but the other reason they do that is because they start getting warm. Of course, only a small radiator on the front of these vehicles, and when you're sitting on the bumper of another car, you get all that hot air going into your radiator. That starts to make your car get hot, and you don't want it to get too hot because then you start to have a few issues creep in.
Yeah, the big one is the black smoke coming out from underneath.
Yeah, that's not a good thing when that happens. Never fun. Um, the new cars, though, they've been pretty successful from what I found in the drafting. They've been pretty fun. As soon as you lose that draft, though, you do fall off. We saw that in the actual full metal version of the Duel, where if you just drop back about a car length, all of a sudden you've just got nothing to give, nothing that you can do with this car. You just really fall off quick. So you've got to really keep the pack nice and tight. Otherwise, you're going to drop off very quickly.
Yeah, definitely, and also with the side draft, and like you can see there's two distinctive lines. Um, no one on that high line is trying to come down and do the side draft, because what that normally does is pull the guy on the inside away from the guy in front of you, and then you're both in trouble.
Yes, and we might see some of that towards the end of the race. There's a long way to go here, of course. 60 laps here at Daytona for the Duel. So you don't want to make your moves too early. As I said, leading the race can be a bit detrimental because you're going to be using up a lot more fuel, things like that. So if you're sitting in the mid pack, you might get a bit warm, but you can save a bit more fuel because you don't have to be full throttle. You can just sit around about 75% throttle and just save that little bit of fuel and just have to hope nobody makes a mistake in front of you.
Yeah, definitely. You see every now and then there's a couple of guys there that are going down the back straight that are sticking their nose out to trying to get that little bit of cool air in the front. So it shouldn't be too bad because it's only 73 degree 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what 23 degrees Celsius.
23 degrees Celsius, yeah.
And the track's only a degree hotter, so it's yeah, it might be just some guys running different setups as you led into before, Carl, that are giving the cars that little bit of heat.
Yeah, it's all the little games and things like that. And one of the big differences for this car, I sort of found is it tends to be a bit light down the straights. It tends to stick a little bit better on the actual turns these days. So when you're actually bump drafting, sometimes you're better off actually doing it in the corner rather than doing it in the straight because the back end just lifts a little bit. So it's a different way of driving than it has been the norm for many years, and that's something they're going to have to get used to too.
Yeah, definitely. I know that with us in our league, there's been a lot of guys saying that, man, these things are totally and utterly fun to drive now, compared to when they first released them. So I mean, and a lot of ANZCAR guys race with us, and a lot of us race with ANZCAR, and it's great to see the cross flow of drivers, and it's improving everyone's driving with these new cars.
Yeah, they've actually been really fun to cross, especially in the draft. It's a very fun experience back in the Weekend Warriors League, which of course is Mark Hansen's home. When one of the practice races there, we were running a very good pack, and it was very easy to shuffle your way up towards the front.
Yeah, we looks like we're about to catch Tristan, which is not a good thing here, with the rate of speed that they catch.
Yeah, and this is going to be a tricky moment for Tristan because what's he going to do? Is he going to stay up high? We're going to go three wide into turns 3 and 4 right now, or are we going to see him go low? He's going to stick up high, so
Up high.
that means they're going to have to go three wide across the tribal sort of section here at Daytona, and that could be bad news for those guys running that high line. They could just get a little bit caught out. They're just going to have to squeeze through. Luckily, Daytona is a nice wide track, so it's not too hard to do, but it's never it always is a bit of a clencher when you're running three wide.
Yeah, definitely. And it's only got takes a little mistake where Christian might touch the fence, and if he touches it the wrong way, he get turned down into the field. But so far, touch wood, all the guys have got past him. Um, so he's done a good job to stay high.
Still sticking it out there at the moment. Just very
Oh,
close.
that was close.
He needs
Yes.
to lift a little bit here, or he's trying to keep in the actual draft at the moment. I'm trying to see who that was. I think it was
1-5.
Christopher. It was Christopher Finley. Yeah, Christopher Finley there, getting very close, and they make contact.
Oh, there it is.
Contact there. Christopher Finlay and Luke Georgeson, I think it was. And of course, Tristan Koch, and that is the first contact. We're still going green though at the moment. It is still green here. Will we see the yellow flag come out? Not for the moment. Looks like it's going. Finley trying to get that car going.
I don't think we will. I reckon they've kept moving fast, quick enough to keep the yellow at bay.
That is disastrous for Georgeson, Finley, and Koch, of course. Finley and Georgeson both got a lot of damage to their cars. So they are going to be struggling a lot, and the lead pack is going to come up on these guys pretty quickly as well.
Finley's car is crunched front and rear, and I'm just watching him roll around the bottom at the moment, and it's very hard for him to keep it straight. So I think his race may be nearly done. He'll go into the pits and probably have 10, 15 minutes repair time. So unfortunately for him.
Yeah, that's a big shame for him getting taken out in an incident like that. It's exactly what you were talking about, Mark. Just a momentary lapse of concentration. They're catching Morris now. So Morris will just ease up and get out the way. And he's going to want to try and, keep out the way and then hook himself onto the back of this pack to sort of make sure he keeps up there. Oh, he's just got into the side of. He just goes into the side of Barry Neal, and there's contact with him and Riley, I think. Riley Curtis. Riley Curtis getting spun. And that is a big incident there. And again, we're staying green, but amazingly, Matty Red just managed to avoid that. That was almost a huge accident there. So just make side contact there. You see Matty Red just sliding through the bottom there, but Riley Curtis, the unfortunate victim in that one. So that is 5 cars pretty much out of this running now. So all these guys need to do now is just keep it clean, just keep running, and they're pretty much through to the 500.
Yeah, you see there, Matty, just get that tail wiggle, and that was all over Red Rover.
A really unfortunate thing to happen. Like it is the problem. Of course, Riley Curtis is locked in with the top 20 from last year's championship, so he is through still. But that's going to be a very low starting position in the 500 for him. So
Hey, Carl, I'm not going to say it too loud, but look who's up
yes, just sneaking along. There's an Atari train. In all of that action and commotion, an Atari Autosport train has just linked itself together and working very, very well with each other indeed. They've got 3 of their cars up there, and Raymond Yeager there as well at the back with Stevie Dubb. That line working very, very well with each other. There is a secondary pack forming a little bit further back with Nathan Button in the lead. So they're going to be trying to work their way up a little bit further if they can. Scotty Griffiths, though, has been dropped back. The Atari train has dropped in front and taken the lead of this race. Header Sheep taking the lead in the 035.
I'm not going to say anything, but how unusual is that when you get those 3 boys together and they can just link up really, really well. The only person missing from that team is I believe Norman Clark out of New Zealand. Is he part of the
Yeah,
Ferrari
that's
guys?
it. Yeah. The only car missing is Norman, as we see Aidan Schultz just dropping down just to go to the back of the line, I think. So yeah, Norman Clark, I think, in the other split. But
He's in the other split.
Natari working it well to get 3 of their cars in the same split. That is that you couldn't write it better, I think.
No, definitely not.
And of course, it is qualifying times that these are set by, so you're not guaranteed to be in the same split. So when you get all your team in the same split, it really is a good feeling.
Yes. Now that second pack can work together. They should be able to catch the lead pack. I'm just going to my blimps and see whether I can actually see the distance.
Well, that second pack at the moment is setting pretty much similar pace to the lead, so they're on course to sort of catch up if they can. They get a little sniff of draft, they can work together and get a really nice tight line forming up. They could catch up to this group quite quickly. Of course, the other thing is pit stops. If they decide to come in and come in together with all of those cars come in at the same time, they can come out at the same time and form a nice big group. And if they can get that working well, if the rest of the cars come in and split up a little bit, we will see them losing pace. So that's the other big question is pitting now. Is when you pit, you really want to make sure you pit with a lot of other cars so you can get that pack formed up again. Because if you come out with only 3 cars, for instance, and somebody else comes in out with a nice pack of 5 to 8 cars, you're going to lose a lot of time.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably the pack is probably worth, I'd say half a second a lap. Yeah, a bit close to that, I'd say. Um, so yeah, you definitely want to come out with in a group of cars.
The pack is worth a good about 3 seconds a lap. So it's a big
Yeah,
difference in lap time with this generation of car. It does make a huge difference. As soon as you fall out of that pack, you are really going to struggle. Peter Wilkinson has fallen out of the pack with the avoiding action, and he's running down there, running at a good speed of about 284, 85 kilometers per hour. But the lead car's running at 305. That is such a huge difference in speed, and nothing wrong with that car at all. Nothing wrong with that driving. It is just purely because he's running out there on his own at the moment. So Hennessy leads over Foster, Carol Walden, Scotty Griffiths, Raymond Yeager, Danny G, Jaden Russell, Stevie Dubb, Barry Neal, Jaden Schultz. Jay Schultz in 10th position at the moment. So we've got a pretty good pack forming. They're coming up to another car. I think that was Tristan Koch there, just out back on track, trying to get a decent finishing position now, because he can still get into the 500 with a few of those cars being out. Despite having that damage, he can still get through. Tristan's just got onto the back of that lead pack, or tried to at least, and he's struggling a little bit there to keep holding on as they get past another car there of Luke Georgeson. Luke, a lot more damage on the front of that car. He really needs to try and get somebody to work with to keep that thing going, because that thing is definitely struggling for speed. But of course, you can manage to keep these cars going relatively quick with some front end damage if you can hook up to the car in front of you.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Tristan's car, Carl. It's got a little bit of damage on the right front, but most of his damage is the rear aero. Issues with the rear end down.
Yeah, it makes it a bit of a struggle. Driving a banged up car around Daytona is never a fun experience. It's never an enjoyable thing. But as I say, you still got a chance of getting into the 500, so you've got to take it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, I think we've got Riley Curtis in the infield care centre, so we'll just grab him up to say hello, make sure he's okay. Riley, welcome to the broadcast booth. Rather not see you at this stage of the race. Unfortunate incident there.
Yeah, a bit of a strange one that I haven't had a car at Daytona before, so it was real weird.
Yeah, it definitely looked really caught you off guard there, and obviously that's taken you out of the duel, but you are locked in for the 500 at least.
Yeah, I had actually planned to start and park, but then I figured I'd run a few laps and just see what it was like, and that's why I jumped up to the high line just to see how the setup went, trying to suck up there, and it was doing all right, but just when I don't know who was in front of me that clipped that lap car, but I touched the brakes slightly to just make sure that nothing happened, and as soon as I did that, the rear come around.
Yeah, of course, these cars got a slightly stronger brake than last year, of course, and that might be one of those things. Just still getting used to that kind of thing, obviously.
Yeah, it was strange. I've never had it happen. I'm just happy I didn't take anyone else out. So, that was a lap car, but they were struggling already.
Well, good luck for the 500, Riley. Hopefully, we won't see you in the booth until the very end.
Here's hoping. Cheers, boys.
Riley Curtis there. Yeah, it's one of those nice things when you're locked in, and obviously he was thinking about starting from the back anyway, so not a huge amount lost for him.
No, so what's he going to do tomorrow afternoon? Is he going to look at drop him to the back and run him forward, or because he probably would have got a little bit of info from tonight, but not a great deal.
No, it's not much information gained. I guess the information he gleaned from that one is don't put the brake bias towards the rear. So
At least he found fifth gear.
yeah, that's true. Found 5 gears. Be careful on brakes. That is the information gleaned from that one. So we have two big packs formed at the moment. So we have Hershey leading at the Atari Charger Foster and Carol Walden in that front pack. Then a little bit further back, we have Nigel Patton leading. Is Nigel Patton leading that secondary pack at the moment? 6 cars strong in that pack, and they are struggling a little bit. They are falling off the pace. They've just not got the speed they need to catch up to that big train of cars. Obviously, managing to just go about a couple of tenths quicker a lap, and it is making that difference. About 3 tenths, about 2 to 3 tenths difference per lap, and they are really dropping off.
Yeah, you probably I probably want to caution, or probably in the next 10 laps we might see some guys start to dive to the pits, so that'll change things up.
Yeah, of course, that's the big one is the strategy calls and the pitting, because that's going to make a little bit of difference tonight. And that, as I say, if they time it right, if they get a good group of cars in and the rest of the field stays out, they can easily gain back some of this time that they've lost.
Definitely, and the big thing is, are the guys at the front going to do some tests and take tyres? Even though this is a great tyre wear track, you still get a slight advantage with fresh tyres. So
You
I
do.
wonder if anyone will take the tyres and fuel.
It's probably worth taking right sides, because that's about the same time as fuel, I'd say. But it's not going to be a huge fuel stop either. They're not going to need to take a full tank, obviously. Just watching back a little bit, Jaden Russell just having a few connectivity issues just behind Danny G at the moment, and I'm sure that will put Stevie Dub off a little bit just following that car. Never fun when you get a bit of a blinking car on a super speedway.
No, definitely not. 1 minute a minute later you're sitting in the cockpit with him.
Yes, it's never good to have a passenger in a car when you're driving in a NASCAR. It throws the balance of the vehicle off a little bit.
Definitely. What was it? Elvis Presley Speedway. So this is these three Natari boys have got a little bit of a gap now. So is this a prelude to tomorrow afternoon?
Those Atari cars looking very good in race trim at the moment. They're looking like they're working very well, and starting up at the front end of the grid will be a relatively nice thing for them, I'm sure, because the higher up in the field you start, the less chance you've got of getting caught up in the big one, of course. And what we mean by the big one is when a car spins at Daytona, usually it means it collects a lot of other vehicles. Not much you can do when you're travelling over 300 kilometers per hour and then there's a car coming sideways at you.
Definitely not. These guys really look like they've got really good work together, and they all seem comfortable with each other.
And that's the beauty of having the teammates around you, is you sort of know exactly how you're going. You practice the bump draft, you practice the draft quite a lot. You sort of know how it's going to go, and it does make things a little bit easier in that respect. But Scotty Griffiths and Raymond Yeager at the moment doing a really nice job just holding on. Raymond Yeager doing a nice sort of keeping in a good position at the moment. It's been a while since we've seen Raymond out in the field. Back this season, good to see him back, getting a good finish in the Xfinity, I think it was, as one of the locked-on cars just a little bit wiggly in the background just behind Stevie Dub there, manages to hold on nicely.
I've just got my eye on this second group, and they're just not catching it. they need to close up and really get that draft as a one unit. They're just not nose to tail right the way around.
To give a bit of an idea, last lap round, all three Natari cars were in the 46s. Everybody else, other than Danny G and Jaden Russell, were in the 47s. So they've got a good look of speed on them. Jaden Russell, of course, with Synergy, and Danny G with Mitch Motorsport, they are sort of sister teams. So they do work together a little bit. And we've got a break off pack as well of Barry Neal. He's just fallen off a little bit of the back of this group. So they've just fallen off the back of this main pack. And this could actually help out that secondary pack now. There's a few less cars in this front group. And that's going to slow them down a tiny bit.
I think Barry may have gone into a little bit of a fuel save, and I've noticed with him in other classes, he just backs off that little bit, saves that little bit of fuel, and then he's really strong in that second phase of the race.
Yeah, we saw that last season where he took out his first ANZCAR victory, doing a fantastic job of saving the fuel and getting the car home. So definitely could be a little bit of strategy involved here. And they're going to be starting to think about those pit stops now. I think they're going to be thinking, well, it doesn't look like a caution's going to come out anytime soon. We're probably going to have to go in on a green flag, boys. What do we do? How do we get this to work? And I think we'll just see the sort of front sort of teams just jump in with each other and try and stick together and get a good run out of the pit lane so they can keep that draft going.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier for the Natari guys. That they can talk and they or where they put the advantage, they can dummy or Irving and throw a dummy and try and get the guys go to the pit lane. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens or not. Of course, that is part of the strategy to try and get your guys behind you to pit and break that link.
Yeah, a lot of strategy at play in oval racing, and that's one of the things that people tend to enjoy a lot. Oh, just Joshua Walden just running really low there and just tagging that line, tagging the yellow line. Almost had a moment there, just managed to save the car, but that was very much a grabbing tight of the steering wheel moment, I'm sure. And I reckon we're going to see the front pack coming in relatively shortly. I get the feeling they're going to be coming into pit lane in the next lap or two.
You're not listening in on their team radio, I hope.
Oh, no, I would never do such a thing. I never listen to drivers' radios. What are you talking about? I just saw a flash up of one of the drivers' radios on my screen, and I'm just thinking, oh, maybe that's the sign to come in. Of course, could have just been pressing the wrong button, but we'll soon find out. And well, not this time round, so it might have been a bit of a dummy being thrown, just seeing if they could get anybody to go in before them. But you just get the feeling, the way the cars are moving at the moment, that they're starting to get into the yeah, we're going to start pitting shortly.
I've got set on pit lane, so I will yell when they see someone from that second pack come in and see if they can do the undercut and catch that lead group.
Yeah, I think that second pack's best hope is to jump in all together and try and do that pit stop and sort of keep that draft going. I think that's their best chance of catching up to this lead pack. Of course, that's if they want to. They're sitting in a position to get through into the 500 course, so they're not, they're not going to be too worried, but they will be starting quite in the middle of the pack where they're at, so that can be a little bit of a concern sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. You either want to be well, any super speedway, you either want to be right up the front, I would say in the top 10, or way down the back, so you've got a little bit of time to react to anything in that mid pack that may happen.
Yeah, the reaction time, it gets tricky. The further down you go, sometimes it can get a little bit tricky. But when you're running sort of in that sort of higher mid pack, it gets hard. Nope, sorry, it's the wrong thing on my timing screen. But yeah, it's always a predicament to be in. You know, you just want to be trying to. You either want to be right at the front or right at the back, but you obviously want to be working with a few other cars.
Right, Ed's radio's just lit up on the on iRacing, so are we going to see Barry Neal's going to pit this lap? He's just called it. Peter Wilkinson's going to pit this lap.
Yeah, in they come.
Yeah.
And in the cars come a swarm of cars coming into pit lane. Are they going to make it in? All braking in the right period. This is always the tricky part. You just got to watch out for speeding here, not locking your brakes, not spinning the car in pit lane. These are easy things to do, especially when you're coming in hot off the track. Remember, these cars, they don't have the strongest of brakes. Who was that in the background? Just somebody really taking the long way into pit lane. I think it was...
And
it was Will Jesberg there, just a clip it. He just made it through the cone.
it looks like Raymond's been out of split than the Tari guys.
So just going back and looking quickly and seeing if anybody took some tyres, and Hennessy had a bit of a bad one. He missed his box, so Hennessy has gone a little bit too far in front, and that dropped him back, and that will given Jaeger the chance to get in front of him. So Hennessy just missing his pit box there, and that is also one of those things you just got to be so cautious of because it's so easy to do.
Yeah, definitely. Ed's come out and taken the lead, and as I said, mate, it looks like Raymond's split those Natari boys, so there's going to be some pushing going, I think.
And look who's just linked up right to the back of them as well. Stevie Dubb is sitting right there too. So that was a fantastic stop from Stevie Williams there. Really well played from him, getting through nicely. Now, did he take a little bit less fuel? That's the question. I mean, obviously, his stop was around about 8.2 seconds. So I reckon Stevie Dubb just took less fuel on board because he's planning on running at the back of this pack, using a little bit less fuel, trying to make it home with a slightly leaner tank, while everybody else had to take a little bit extra just because they're going to be running a bit further up the field.
Stevie Dubb's a quiet achiever. I know that a lot of the races I've tuned into, he's just sat there and been able to make those crucial moves when it's counted.
So, of course, with last year's season 2, I think it was, truck champion, Stevie Dubb. Season 1, thank you, Matt, in my ear. They all blend into one giant season at the end of it all. But yeah, last year's season 1 truck champion, Stevie Dubb, really good job on that one. And just consistency. That's one of the things with him. He's very consistent, very good at getting those top 10 finishes.
Yeah, you don't always have to win every week to get a championship, and that's I guess too with these super speedways, it's a little bit of luck to get the win and some good driving too. It all rolls into one.
Yeah, I think luck is a big thing on the super speedways sometimes, but you do make your own luck as well. Just glancing back a little bit, and we've got Barry Neal, Aidan Schultz, Jaden Russell in a bit of a pack at the moment, and Danny G's sort of fallen off the back of this one. He's trying to catch up to them and link himself up with Tim Corn, I think it is. Sorry, it's not Tim Corn. It's Scotty Griffiths, sorry. Scotty Griffiths, one of the big losers in that one. He's fallen right off the back of that group, and he's going to be struggling to catch back up to them. So he's going to be falling down quite quick now. So that pack's going to be struggling because it's quite spread out as well. They've not got many cars to work together, and that's not going to help them out. They've got around about a 6-second gap to almost a 7-second gap to the leader now as well. So they are quite a bit off the front of this race. So they need the front pack to start to battle a little bit to catch up to them.
I think we'll probably see the battle starting to unfold with the next 5 or 6 weeks. But, you know, who's going to make the move first? Is Raymond going to pull the trigger, or Stevie Dub going to pull the trigger and try and get to the front?
As it looks like Jaden Russell and Danny G have managed to link up with each other a little bit further back and get in front of Barry Neal and Aiden Schultz. Aiden Schultz jumping onto the back of this pack as well. So they're starting to work together now, and that's the important thing. They need to really start working in a good little pack to try and get their time back, but they are going to be struggling for sure. 4 cars are going to be slower than 5 cars.
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting. Just trying to jump onto the back of that lead pack. Doesn't quite make it. But still lapping out there, just in P17 at the moment. Looks like we might have lost Jay Schultz, unfortunately. Looks like a connection issue has taken him out of the race. So 17 cars still in this one, I think. No, Peter Morris still in with still in P19. So he is just getting around and get himself into the 500 at least. Meanwhile, the front pack starting to get a little bit loose. They're starting to get a little bit wiggly at the front. Struggling a little bit on the exit of the corner, it looks like. They're just getting a little bit loose there and really getting a bit tail happy.
Well, they are starting to move around. Like JCW, you can see there mid-corner, up and down a little bit there. So is he doing that to try and shake Raymond a little bit?
Well, we've got 11 laps after this one remaining, so it's not too much further to go in this race. He's getting towards the end of it, but obviously if he shakes Raymond Yeager completely loose, then that's going to drop his teammate back a little bit as well. So they're going to have to try and orchestrate a nice big run for Daniel Hedesheed right now to try and slingshot himself past Yeager. And one of the problems in these cars, of course, is you can get that slingshot happening, but as soon as you jump out into the fresh air, the car will stall completely. So what the Atari will have to do is sort of work out that slingshot for their teammate and then jump up to the high line to try and help him out and suck him along to squeeze him in front of Yeager, and then slot down and try and keep all of those cars together so they've got all of them working in unison to keep pushing to the end of the race.
Yeah, look, if I was JC and Ed, I'd probably lift that little bit to bring Raymond right in and let him take the outside run, and hopefully get the third Natari car up on the back and abandon Raymond on the outside. That's the only other way I can see that happening. But saying that, he's dropping back a little bit too far now.
Yeah, they've still got a good got 9 seconds over Jaden Russell in 6th at the moment, that other pack. So they've got time to play with, and those guys behind really don't have much time left to catch up. With 9 laps remaining in this race, it is getting down to 10 laps remaining. It's getting down to the very end of this race, and they're running out of laps to catch up to this front pack.
It'd be interesting post race if Ed and it's the 1, 2, 3, Ed Natari 1, 2, and 3, if they'll let us into any of their little secrets that they may have run. I'm going to give a reminder to our race fans that have tuned in. If you want all the up-to-date information, make sure you go check out ANZCAR.com for all up-to-date information.
Yeah, Matt Hunter doing a fantastic job to get that one up and running, as well as the lovely liveries that we've got running tonight as well. Big thank you to Matt Hunter, of course, admin of ANZCAR and technical guru. Technical master.
The button,
We'll keep talking about.
the buttons push up.
It looks fantastic, and ANZCAR.com, all the information's there, past winners, there's season information as well, where you can apply to join the league as well. Obviously, with Thunder and the trucks, if you're looking to get into oval racing in Australia, it's well worth jumping on there, getting into those leagues, because they are really good to get into.
Yeah,
So,
definitely fun leagues, great racing. I love the trucks. It's just a shame I can't race enough every week because of work commitments. But every chance I can, I'll be at the trucks.
yeah, it's the trouble, really. It's never enough time to race these days. That tends to be the problem when you're doing commentary. You lose out on that bit. Up the front, they are starting to try and get position.
Whoa.
Ooh, big moment there for JCW. Just managed to save that one. I think we were just running on board with Jaeger and just saw that one from the in-car view there. But that's what we're talking about here at Daytona at the moment, is that sort of slap. It's almost like a high side on a motorcycle. It just catches
Yeah,
you out from nowhere, and there's not much you can do about it. If you're lucky, you can sometimes catch it, but generally, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be losing the rear of the car.
yeah, that's I don't know if you found it, Carl. These things just don't seem to have the same. I know that's a new gen car and everything, but it's very hard to feel comfortable for me behind the wheel. They just seem very light in the steering.
Yeah, they are much lighter in their steering than the old gen. You don't get as much. I don't know if it's more of a iRacing thing or what's going on with that, because you don't get as much feeling through the wheel, I've found, with these ones, unless you really crank it up. And I imagine that's just how it is. It's a slightly different setup of car, of course. So I think it's got lighter steering um, in general, and it can really catch you out because you're so used to having that nice heavy steering. You can feel when the car starts to move. With this one, you sort of don't have that same feel, and it catches you out quite quickly. And we have seen that a few times in the past couple of weeks.
Definitely, even with some of our guys in the Weekend Warriors, they've said that it's very hard to get a feel through the car. Um, I Yeah, super speedways. I don't know if I'm going to like the super speedways this year myself, but I'll give it a good crack as usual.
You can give it a go, see how it goes. But
Yeah,
yeah, it has been tricky. I did sort of find in the last race it was very tricky just to keep that car sort of, especially bumping from behind. It just really struggled with keeping it straight. It was very squirrely on the wheel. Wasn't too bad being pushed, but if I was pushing, I was really struggling. So that is definitely something that these guys are going to have to get used to with this new car, and it is, it's something that comes along with a new generation of car.
so
So
coming to the strike with 4 laps to go, are we going to see a change in this front group, Carl?
oh, it's tricky. Jaeger is sitting there and just tell a little bit hungry, just trying to get a look out. You see, he's just jumping out, getting a little bit of air on the car, but also getting a feel for how much speed he's losing when he drops out of that draft. Um, I think if he's going to make a move, it'll be with about 1.5 laps to go. He'll try and actually make it happen, and he's going to need a lot of help, possibly from Stevie Dubb. There is a lapped car as well sitting there of Nigel Patton. So if Patton and Stevie Dubb can actually get involved in this, they could help Jaeger out and give him a little bit of a push towards the line. But then, do you really want to risk it? Because this is the duel, of course, and do you really want to risk having an accident and ending up at the back of the grid?
Yeah, definitely. Although, so what are we looking at there? Third, fifth, and seventh for those front three.
Yeah.
Come tomorrow afternoon. I know myself, I'd be sitting there and just saying, "Hey, I'm happy with being in the starting in the top 10."
Yeah, it's starting in the top 10 is what you want to do. So just jumping back to the second pack at the moment, Jaden Russell in the lead of that one ahead of Danny G, Aiden Schultz, Barry Neal, and Barry Neal. Then we have Tim Corn in 10th position at the moment, leading another little pack with Scotty Griffiths, Matty Ray, and Will Yesberg as well. But we'll keep our eye on the front because we've got 2 laps to go here at Daytona. They're very much getting towards the end of the duel right now. If you're going to try and make that pass, you need to do it soon. And I think if Jaeger's going to try for it, he's going to need to go for it very shortly. Try and get his nose underneath JCW. Try and do something to unsettle those cars just so he can get a bit of a run. Will they go for it? Are they going to try for a last lap run? Will they manage anything? We're soon going to find out. The white flag will be unfolding now. Flying for the first time in 2022 for ANZCAR. Foster in the lead at the moment. JCW second. Jaeger third. Fourth is Hennessy. Stephen Williams in fifth. Stevie Dub jumping out at the moment. Stevie Dub trying something there. He was just taking a bit of a look as they were getting past one of the locked-on cars there and seeing if he could make a little bit of a push work. Didn't quite make it work, but Jaeger, Carol Walden and Foster have broken away from Hennessy at the moment. Hennessy might be able to get a bit of a run here. Stevie Dub getting a run as well. Stevie Dub getting a run on Hennessy at the moment, side by side. He's going to try and use the side draft. He's getting a nice little bit of a push from...
There goes Raven. Oh, no.
Jaeger can't quite get it done. JCW blocking away, keeping his position set there for the moment. They're coming up to the line. Who's it going to be? JCW moves out to the outside to cover off, and Foster takes it. JCW second, Jaeger in third. Stevie Dub comes home in fourth position, just beating out Hedesheed in the other Atari car. We jump back to Jaden Russell now as they are coming up to the finish line. Danny G just getting a front. Danny G just getting the move done in a nick of time there on Jaden Russell. Aidan Schultz in 8th. 9th is Barry Neal. Then we jump back to Matty Ray coming up side by side racing with Tim Corn at the moment. We've still got battles going through. Who is going to be starting in P11 and P10? Scotty Griffiths there fighting away as well. Who can get this one? It looks like Raven Jaeger might have... Sorry, Matty Ray might have this. He does indeed. Matty Ray gets 10th position. Scott Griffith comes home in 11th. 12th for rookie Tim Corn. Then we have rookie Will Yesberg in 13th. 14th for Nigel Patton. 15th for Nathan Button. Peter Wilco Wilkinson in 16th position. Tristan Koch getting home in 17th. 18th for Jay Schultz. Managing to get back onto the server. Peter Morris comes home in 19th. And Riley Curtis will be classified for the race in 20th.
That'll hurt Riley tomorrow night, being starting from the rear. But I can tell you that it's not impossible to win from the rear.
Definitely not. It's one of those things you could definitely work your way through the field, and we've seen it done many times on super speedways. Starting from the back, working your way up to the front. It's all about positioning, and it is a long race tomorrow. Of course, it is the full 500. It's going to be a long one, and
200 laps.
Exactly, a lot of laps to go tomorrow, and you're not going to win it on that first lap, but you sure as heck can lose it.
Definitely, and also there's no fast repairs, so if you crash, you're in the pits for a long time.
Absolutely. Fast repairs thing that we don't need even, it's ruins some of the fun. But yeah, it can be very painful when that happens. So what we'll do is we'll grab down the winner. We'll grab down wait, let's see if Raymond Jaeger jumps up and grab him down. If it doesn't jump up to the green room shortly, then we'll grab second place, Matt.
Just give me 1 sec, mate, and I'll fix that issue.
As we do our usual thing of tweaking around and grabbing the right people at the right time. But an enjoyable duel there. And look, a really good teamwork from Natari getting their way up into the lead after that incident that didn't go quite yellow. And that really helped them out. They managed to get up there. But we have Raymond Jaeger up in the green. Let's bring him down. Raymond Jaeger, congratulations on getting back in the booth again. It seems to be a habit of yours this week.
Yeah, it's been a good week, mate. I can't complain at all.
It's great to see you back, and it's great to get to chat to you again. Congratulations on P3 in the Duel, of course. Obviously, not the main event, but a nice starting position for tomorrow's race.
Yeah, happy with that. The goal was just to get through unscathed and be in the top sort of half of the field. Because I've done a few officials this week, and it seems like the split sort of happens around about the 14, 15 car mark. So just want to sort of stay above that sort of position and see what we can do tomorrow.
Look, hopefully all goes well tomorrow. Starting towards the front of the grid is going to be helpful. A little bit less chance of getting caught up in that big one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the goal. Obviously, try and stay clean. The other goal was to try and get Nigel into the race as well with me. So he's finished 14th. That should be good enough to make the race as well. So yeah, no, mission accomplished for tonight.
Yeah, that's it. We saw him helping out a little bit towards the end there, and it sort of got Stevie Dub up a little bit further than he was expecting, I think. So nice finish to the race there for you guys. Congratulations. Um, the usual thing of a quick shout out for yourselves.
Yeah, so obviously we've got a few sponsors on board. My private seller, Ray White Real Gander, the Sim Racing Edge, who have provided our setup for this race, and it's doing a good job so far. Witcher Electrics, CarWorks, Speech and Language Development Australia, 186, and obviously my teammates Nigel Payton, Matt Payton, who couldn't race tonight, unfortunately, Justin Witcher, and Greg Spencer, who I'm about to go check out. He's going in the other duel.
But good luck, good Greg, and good luck for tomorrow. Hopefully, you'll make it a trifecta of getting in the booth this week.
I hope so, mate, but it's a long race.
It is indeed. Thank you so much, Raymond.
Cheers, mate.
So next up, we will grab down the second place finisher for Natari, Mr. JCW, Joshua Carroll Walden. Welcome back to the booth, mate.
Hello guys. Yeah, sorry, caught me mid conversation there. Yeah, going well. You?
As is tradition, we need to try and catch you mid-conversation. It's a goal of ours to try and get you saying the most embarrassing thing possible. Congratulations on that finish for the team. Looks like you had a really strong run there after that little bit of a wobble with the cars getting a bit loose and a possible caution coming out. You guys stormed to the front.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah, for whatever reason, the pack on the inside, well, the line on the inside was just going so slow. So, just out of basically pure impatience, we just decided to try mid high line. And yeah, we just rocketed, man. Like, I was surprised, how quickly we got up there. But yeah, we did a really good job pushing all three of us up there.
Worked out very well for you. Just a little mistake in the pit lane for Daniel, unfortunately, dropped him back a tiny bit. But you were putting up a pretty decent defence to Raymond Jaeger behind you. Obviously, being the duel, were you looking at really going full out defence for that one, or were you sort of just trying to not crash and just try your best to keep him behind you?
Yeah, I was going for a more conservative strategy tonight. Just with my driving, because yeah, it is the duels, and there's not that much difference between staying in fourth and staying in sixth. So yeah, and like we outnumbered both Jaeger and Williams 3-2. So yeah, like I was basically just going to let him do any run he really wanted, but yeah, ultimately Daniel would have come up to the rear of us, and yeah, just would have been 1, 2, 3 again. So yeah, and like I think Raymond knew that, and that's why he stayed behind single file to the checker flag.
I just want to touch a little bit. We saw in the race you did have a bit of a moment. I don't know if you recall it, but just almost just getting towards that apron, it looked like a fantastic save from the cameras. But your car looked just a little bit wobbly at some stages out there.
Yeah, yeah, like especially towards the end of the race, I was struggling for grip a little bit. Um, so yeah, like the car, was definitely a bit skatey, but yeah, that's because we didn't actually take any tires In that one and only pit stop, so yeah, the tires were like 50 laps old, and yeah, just something to remember for tomorrow.
Do
But
you think?
Oh, sorry, Mark.
Yeah. Do you think the cars have got anything else in them, JCW, or is that
Um,
it?
I don't actually know, to be honest, mate, because like yeah, we only did really one big push, and only lasted for about 15 seconds. So yeah, I don't think even we know how what this car is truly capable of, because essentially the race tonight was a procession. So yeah, we'll get a good sense of what they're like when everyone's going for first place tomorrow.
Watch this space, eh?
Yeah, that's it, man.
Well done on the second place, mate.
Yep, thank you.
And just before we let you go, any personal shout outs you'd like to give tonight, JCW? We'll get the team shout outs from your teammate, Mr. Foster.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, shout out to Ed for the win. And yeah, shout out to Daniel for making it into the show. He was basically the only one in that lead 5-car pack that was that didn't have a locked in spot. So yeah, it's good that he'll be able to join us for the race tomorrow. And yeah, shout out and best of luck to Norman, our teammate in the other duel. Hopefully, he's managed to race his way in as well.
Thank you so much, JCW. Congratulations again. I'm sure we'll catch you back in the booth soon.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
And finally, we'll grab down the winner of the duel, Mr. Edward Foster. Congratulations on that P1 finish tonight, Ed.
Thanks very much.
Obviously, it worked out very well for you guys with qualifying, getting 3 of your cars into this split.
Yeah, well, I mean, the qualifying session yesterday was terrible. So we were, a little bit sort of nonplussed with how we are going to go. But yeah, in the end, it turned out okay. Yeah, managed to hook it up, get it up to the front, the inside line. Like we spent a lot of time sort of hanging in that inside line, and it just wasn't going anywhere. So as soon as the outside line got broken up and we all had a chance to jump up, we did. And from there, it was a pretty simple matter of sort of pushing us through the lead and hopefully hanging on to it. And then, of course, the pit stops worked out well as well, which is always a bit of a danger area, I suppose. Everybody trying to get everyone in and out of the pits together, all clean and with no mistakes. But we sort of managed to do that fairly well as well, and it was just fairly straightforward from there.
No, it paid off for you, and that push to the front really worked out well. You sort of timed it just right.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those where we were just sort of waiting for the run to come. So we didn't have any kind of plan in mind about when we wanted to do it. It was just the fact that we got a run, decided to take it. It was as simple as that. So, yeah, there's no great strategy or maths or magic to it. It was just an opportunity that presented itself that we took.
Congratulations on getting 3 of your cars in the top 5 for the duel. That's a fairly decent effort. 2 of them up at the front as well. And congratulations on getting the W next to your name for the duel itself. Hopefully you can get the same thing happening tomorrow.
Yeah, look, obviously that's the goal, isn't it? We've got to. This is only sort of qualifying, as nice as it is to have a good starting position and not leave yourself with a lot of work to do in terms of getting up the pack tomorrow. There's still around about 2.5 to 3 hours of racing, depending on how we go. So yeah, there's a lot to happen in between now and the checker flag tomorrow. But yeah, we've given ourselves probably outside of qualifying on the front row, which we didn't manage to do at all yesterday. But aside from that, we've probably given ourselves the best chance. So we're happy.
Do you think you'll make any changes to the car, or are you guys all 3 of you happy with the setup, Ed?
We're pretty happy with it. There's always the possibility for little tweaks for weather and things like that, but I think we're going to be very, very close to what we had tonight.
Very good. All I've got to say is, God help anyone that gets in the 3 of you road, and if Norman can make it into, it's going to be a very, very strong team to beat.
Yeah, true, but there's plenty of very strong teams out there. This is the top level of stock car racing in the Australia, New Zealand. So there's very, very good teams out there, and we're just, if you include us among them, we're just one of them. So yeah, there's a lot to the real fights tomorrow.
A very long fight.
Very, very.
Just before we let you go, Ed, the usual thing is shout out and love to sponsors.
Yeah, obviously, shouts out to the guys. The main goal for us tonight was to try and get all of our cars in. Obviously, we managed to get Daniel in, and from what I can see with the results coming through from that other heat, looks like Norman got through as well. So we're going to have a full strength lineup tomorrow. So that's really good. So we're a little bit sort of worried about Norman over there in the other heat on his own, but he got through, so that's fantastic. And of course, the sponsors Fully Flawed and AJD. Yeah, good to have them on board. It's good. We've had 2 races so far, and I've been able to give them a shout out twice. So yeah, happy with that.
Great work. And yeah, as you say, Norman, getting through, finishing in P9, I think, in the second split. I'll run through those results in a moment. But thank you so much, Ed. We will catch you again in the booth shoot soon, I'm sure.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
So, as we say, got the second split results in, and I don't think I've got any of the drivers in from the top 3 lurking around anywhere, unfortunately. So we'll just run through those results. So it was Josh Micklemore taking out the victory in the second split. So he'll be starting on that second row. Jason Martins finishing just behind him with Luke Traher in 3rd. Jamie Nankervis there in 4th position with Neil Pearson 5th, with Andrew Dyson 6th, Michael Schroeder in 7th, Devon Stove 8th, Norman Clark, the Natari teammate, in P9. Gary Wellman getting a good top 10 finish. Steve Hoppett in 11th. Nice finish for Steve. Lachlan Urquio 12th. Matt Knight in 13th. 14th for Mr. Michael Scurlock. Brenton Hobson. Mr. Hobbo himself in 15th. 16th for Ben Vickers. Wade Sheedy 17th. Kobe Jordan 18th. Philip Worley 19th. And Greg Spencer in 20th position. Mirko Dortnack 21st. Paul Jackson 22nd. Noddy Tompkins 23rd. And Kai Turner 24th. So a few of those cars looking like they went out early, unfortunately. But congratulations to Mitch Motorsport for getting the victory in that second split. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the duel over and done with for 2022. But we have the main event coming up tomorrow for you. Yes, the ANZCAR Daytona 500, the 5th annual event coming your way, starting at 2 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Standard Time. Of course, we'll be starting a little bit earlier, just before that, just to get the usual things going. A big thank you, of course, to Mr. Matt Hunter for running the broadcast, getting everything out to you. And, of course, Mark Gear Hansen for joining me in the booth. I'm Carl Withy, and we will see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much.